Hello, and thank you for joining us today. I'd like to welcome everyone to Moxie's 30-minute webinar, How Photobox Simplifies the Online Experience. I have a few items to cover, and then we will get started. During this webinar, all lines will be muted to provide better sound quality for participants. We are recording the entire event, and the recording and related materials will be distributed to all attendees via email tomorrow. We have also reserved some time for questions at the end of today's session. Please submit any questions you have during the webinar in the chat panel, and I will queue them up for our presenters to cover at the conclusion of the webinar. Let's kick off. Today's speakers are Mike Massimi, Customer Experience Director at Photobox, and Ben Hill, Regional Director at Moxie. First, let's turn it over to Mike to discuss Photobox's online experience. Mike, good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon, Gillian. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining. So today I'm going to try to explain why we have decided in the Photobox group to launch a proof of concept and afterwards to implement Moxie as part of one of the main solutions to help with contact deflection. Just to give you a bit more context in terms of who we are and what we do. So we are a pure online player, and we have been online for the last 17 years in Photobox Group with various brands. You might have heard of Moonpig, Poster XXL in Germany, and Hoffman, which is the leader in the Iberia regions, mainly in Spain. And basically what we do is we are offering a creation tool online for personalized gifting around photo book, calendar, and a lot of products. So we turn digital into physical. Basically, the aim and the reason why we decided to implement Moxie was first and foremost to remove any pain points and try to improve towards a frictionless user journey. So because we are premium brand for them in Spain, we have very emotional products, very personalized products, taking into account that all orders are bespoke, they are made to order, and therefore it's a lot more complex than a ready-made product. And we have a lot of specifics around each SKU or product and a lot of customer requests. And the idea was really to make this the more frictionless as possible with the implementation of Moxie. I think, we understand how critical pre-order contacts are in Hoffman and the Photobox group. And it's not just for upselling or cross-selling for us, but it's also because we need to offer reinsurance and ultimately help with the conversions due to the complexity of the product and the creation process. And the idea was to be able to serve customers' query during that creation process, which is critical for us. Now, we have obviously chat, phone, social media, and email, but we really were missing something which was a lot more proactive, a much more user-friendly approach to knowledge bots. And we're also trying to implement this as part of the post-order query, which is also a key driver of contact at peak. So this is basically where we are today with the Photobox group and with Hoffman. And when we looked at the overall user journey, we felt that in order to enrich user experience and ultimately to deflect contact towards a more personalized, non-live method, that Moxie was the best option. And I think the idea or the aim is basically to proactively answer any customer need or query ahead of any potential friction points. And that could be based on their browsing behavior, product selection, profile as a customer, being a new customer or a high-value customer, but also, and more critically, based on the learning from the feedback loop mechanism that we are gathering from the customer service team towards the customer experience team. So I think when we looked at all the products, Moxie was not only the most user-friendly option for us, but I think one key differentiation and the reason why in Hoffman and the Photobox group we decided to implement this new product was because it's very light in terms of integration, development, and the ongoing support is very straightforward. And for us, that was key. having only one dedicated content manager in charge of 12 languages in 10 countries in Photobox, I could not afford to have an army of tech or developer or even support functions just to run a keyboard or an additional channels of contact on the website. So that was super important, the fact that it was very light and very really easy to integrate. If we look at it, it's very straightforward as a platform. It's very flexible to engage with it, and setting up trigger, even for someone which is not a very tech person, was very, very, very easy. We managed to put a lot of video, tutorial video content, a lot of GIF animations. We linked with, rich FAQ that we have inside, and it was very straightforward. So once you have basically a curated and up-to-date FAQ section, some good data about the user pain point, and Moxie, the Agile keyboard integrated, well, ultimately you improve conversion, and for us, more than anything, or more than conversion in customer experience, you reduce basically your contact ratio, or you deflect contact in a much more effective way. And this is why and how we have basically implemented the user experience and the user journey for all the customers. And if we look at maybe the specificity of a business, but I guess most of the retail is in the same field, we are fortunately, or unfortunately, it depends where you stand, very much a seasonal business. And in Photobox and Hoffman specifically, October until December for Photobox, October until mid-January because of Christmas, be slightly later with Reyes in Spain, is one of the key times of the year where basically a large chunk of the revenue, but more importantly for us at least, this is where a profit and EBITDA is actually being generated. So it's critical that we overperform and we serve customer in a much more effective way. If we look at it, we've got hundreds of thousands of pounds, not to say more than that, investing in marketing for about 30 million active users in Europe. And we just need to make sure that whoever we partner with are reliable and it's a scalable solution. For us, for information, we have a forecast increase of around 500%. So we multiply the business by times 5 at peak, so during those 2.5 months. And that means sometimes up to 6 times more FTEs or full-time equivalent, or if you want, 6 times more agents, which will be hundreds of agents or experts to actually serve customers across all countries, an area of language, and from various locations. So it is critical for us that we have a flexible solution. So I guess the next step for Moxie will be for us, now that we know for a fact that it's been a successful implementation over the year. We started with them proof of concept 13 months ago. We went through the last week with some really nice results, and we are very pleased with the outcome. More importantly for me, I was able with the team to demonstrate a clear return on investment. We're going to cover this in the next 2 slides. And I think the next step really is for the rest of the business to see the additional value that you can have in terms of upselling, cross-selling, or even in terms of commercial insights, increasing average order value, maybe repeat order frequency, by implementing Moxie in a different stage rather than just like we did in customer experience, thinking user journey, customer service, and contact deflection. So this is pretty much where we are in terms of business, in terms of peak, in terms of metrics, or let's just say KPIs or key performance indicator. In Photobox, we use the OKR approach. In customer service, customer experience, like most of you would probably use the traditional SLA or KPI that you will expect, service level, first time fix, average handling time. But I think really when we looked at all that data, the only few that I was very keen on linked to Moxie for me in customer service and customer experience were mostly first time fix, live contact deflection. This was a key metric, and what I mean by live is any type of contact outside the email, if you want, so being phone, being chat, or social media from all channels. So that was a key driver for us. Number of view or sessions in Moxie. So that was important also to see if that was actually creating an interest, if we had the trigger and the user journey well defined ahead of the customer need. And ultimately, we found out that that was the preferred channel for self-support, having implemented Moxie. So the amount of page view, the amount of FAQ, and the richness of the content what was a key outcome. I mean, we also find out, as based on the proof of concept, that in Spain, for example, each market is slightly different, but the video tutorial is clearly the highest rated and the most viewed trend. So customers in Southern Europe tend to engage a lot more and prefer to have a short, clear, and concise video tutorial rather than text or GIF animation, for example. And so that was great. So overall, the idea was to reduce the CS cost per contact. That's the truth. So, how much does it cost us every time a customer has to contact us, being pre-order or post-order? And to a lesser extent, we also looked at page conversion. But the idea is really to, increase the order of the average order value, I would say, and drive more self-service. And I'm glad to say that we've achieved this, and we've got a few numbers for you to see. So if we look at the next slide, we have had a couple of steps that we have taken. One was around trying to simplify the product configuration. So we looked at the layout, we looked at simplifying product. We also looked at any missing product description based on the customer behavior, and then try to enrich this or try to fine-tune any missing piece with the Moxie. We also looked at the amount of pre-sales contacts in order to improve the checkout experience, mainly around change of address, difference between billing and delivery address. That sounds very obvious in most websites, but we found out that there were still a lot of friction points around it, especially in the gifting category, being the fact that you actually create a product, you want to send it to someone else, but being a gift, your obviously billing address is very often different from the delivery address, etc., etc., etc. And then we made sure that we targeted the help during the process. So we knew, for example, that some key moment during the creation needed some additional support, even though the website is user-friendly enough. They need the reassurance that they have a concierge service if they need. So we implemented this along with a lot of user-specific messaging, device-specific. We identified if you're on mobile. We identified also, very important for us, the type of browsers. Last peak, we faced a lot of challenge around the Mac OS, Safari, for example, with Flash and Flex. We've now moved away from that technology, but still it's very good to be able to implement the operating system or even the browser when you know you have non-friction points or you might not be feature-proof on every single one of your journey. So that was great to be able to anticipate and only target those customers. And I think the last really important thing that we implemented was around post-order. Again, within my industry, post-order in most cases is very low value in terms, it's high in cost, but you don't really have much value added. And for us, what we consider Wizmo, where is my order, or post-order queries, most of the times, is a real killer. And if we can automatize the process by improving the user journey and by anticipating customer needs or response without having to talk to an agent or chat to an agent or even to send an email, by just having something which is a knowledge bot, intelligent enough to understand who you are, what you need, and how we can serve you better after you place your order, well, that's great. This is what we wanted. So it's been a very emotional purchase and highly time sensitive. Customers really want to make sure they're going to get it on time, and they tend to come to us to reiterate the fact that, yes, we will have a guaranteed delivery. Yes, it will be there. So that was really, really helpful because Wizmo, or Where is my order at peak, is extremely high and generates a lot of requests, again, with very little value added from a customer standpoint or user standpoint. Very briefly, I'm going to go into mobile. I think, and I assume most of you who join us today understand that mobile is a key platform, if not the main platform for most business today, being app or M site. mobile site. For us, that was really, really key that whatever way and solution we implement, being on a desktop, on a tablet, on a mobile, had to be responsive, has to be user-friendly, and obviously, future-proof and mobile-first. So Moxie was very easy to implement and looked great on mobile as well. So we were very pleased. And just before I finished, I just wanted to cover with you some numbers, some high numbers. I think it's all good, but you probably want to see, okay, what's your return on investment? What have you been able to assess? So if I looked at high-level number from the proof of concept that we ran last winter, and now we move into a fully rolled-out versions of Moxie, we expecting further improvement and more efficiency gain. Pardon. And I have to say that a content manager is now very confident with Moxie navigation and setting. We have been able to implement Moxie in a much more effective way, and we pushed a lot more content, FAQ during the user journey. But generally speaking, when we looked at it, when we have seen a beneficial increase in orders, although again, that was not the main reason why we implemented Moxie in the first place. We were expecting it, but we were not looking into it or designing the journey with this in mind. But still, it has helped the conversions and increase in orders. What I was very keen on, and I'm glad to say that we've achieved, it's a 7% decrease in contact. Now, for us, in a nutshell, that's almost £100,000 a year in saving in customer service, customer experience cost. Now, this is not saving by just closing a channel or saving by offering a lesser service. It's really saving by being more efficient and in our view, anticipate customer need and friction points or tension during the user journey by proactively engaging with them when we know there is a key moment in the journey that could be a bit tricky depending, again, on browser, experience, profile, and implementing Moxie not only help us to reduce costs, but 15,000 contacts less is a substantial saving for us that we can reinvest in marketing or elsewhere. So to resume for us, really Moxie, what it did is it offers an agile solution. The integration was super light. Not having to rely on other business units was a key USP for us or unique selling point. Answering customer needs while anticipating querying to avoid pitfall. Again, that was the whole idea. And ultimately, the team and I were able to demonstrate in a very relatively quick way a good return on investment. So that was end of January, early February after the proof of concept. We had enough numbers to say, hey, you know what? This proof of concept has been more than paid for. Let's implement it fully, and this is what we're now doing. So this is in a nutshell where we are in terms of the user journey and the relationship with Moxie. And I'm now going to hand it over to Ben Hill, who's going to take you through the rest of the journey. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much, Mike, for that. Hi, everybody. My name is Ben Hill from GoMoxie. I help support Mike and the team at Hoffman and Photobox. And before we wrap up today, I just wanted to take a couple of minutes to frame the nature of our solution based on what Mike's just shared and our approach to really understanding the different things that may impact the customer journey. So Mike gave some great examples on the Hoffman site. And where we think about these in our world, we're typically looking at this from a funnel perspective, so people browsing and purchasing, and this is really our view. When we think about funnel optimization and applying these struggles across the different phases, we typically start at the awareness phase. So once people have landed at your front door, how are we helping them in and getting them to where they need to be? So a simple welcome message, perhaps, campaign-related offer, or the latest update on their delivery could be the difference in someone abandoning or continuing on, so helping reduce that bounce rate. So calendar or product-specific information that Mike mentioned, this information would sit at the consideration phase with people choosing their products, considering different information in terms of sort of how do I build it, what do I need? Perhaps for you, that's a sizing guide. Similarly, the Mac-specific messaging would also fit in there, so all helping drive traffic away from the contact center and through to the checkout. Offer, promotion codes, those sorts of things, that's going to sit in the checkout phase, helping people transact. And where is my order? The Wizmo scenario that Mike talked about, that's going to be triggered in that sort of service phase, after sales service phase, helping support people in that part of the journey. So overall, they're increasing conversion, reducing contacts, and improving that customer satisfaction. So when we take this and apply this to your world, we want to talk about the business outcomes that you're looking to achieve and the drivers behind them. So what behavior do you want to drive? How are people currently contacting you? And what are the common questions? What content could you offer to resolve in order to be there in the moments that matter and help drive action? So, feel free to have a go yourselves. This digital engagement planner can be downloaded from our website, and it will be sent out at some point. So where it makes sense, let us know if you'd like to discuss further. And I'll wrap up there. I just hope that was useful in understanding our approach to guided customer engagement and some of the results that we've delivered with Mike and the Photobox team. Thank you. Back to you, Gillian.
Thank you, Ben. And thank you to Mike as well for the wonderful material. We have had several questions come in about the recording and the slides, which noted there the recording and the slides that Mike and Ben have both presented will be available tomorrow. You'll receive an email with where to access those. But for the remaining few minutes that we have, I did want to open it up to some questions that we've had that have come in. So let's jump in, but you can also continue to ask questions in the chat panel. You should see some messages there for me, just letting you know you're in the right place. So if you have questions that you'd like to propose to Mike or to Ben, please drop them in there and we'll add them to the list. So let's start off, Mike. There was one from Rebecca around, let me go back. In fact, let me grab the presenter ball so we can go back to the results slide. Let's go back. Here we go. On this one caused quite a few questions. One was around, Mike, how do you plan to continue making improvements to keep building on the decreased contacts that we see here?
A good question. Thank you, Rebecca, for asking. Well, I mean, there are two things. I plan to continue to improve the feedback loop mechanism from too often end of the road CS feedback. So the way we work in Photobox is there is a real 360. So customer service is not handling complaints, they're handling queries and then constructive feedback that we then go back to all the business units in order to try to put the customers at the middle of everything we do, and then to try to dictate in a way or drive the different JIRA tickets or the different priorities in order to answer a customer pain point, needs, or request, rather than just have a business driven by finance, commercial, or marketing. So I think in terms of how do we continue to do it, we've reduced contact ratio, so number of contacts per every 100 orders, significantly, and therefore a budget ultimately. But I think there are various ways to do it. The first one is to improve the internal feedback loop mechanism, make sure that we place more customer-centric people within all levels of the organization. That is a challenge, and we've done this over the last 4 years by pushing internal promotion and increasing retention. I think we also need to work more closely with the data team in order to understand data and customer behavior, customer journey in a much more scalable and detailed way. I think if we work closely with data, we will be able to be even more efficient with the different tools and channels, and Moxie is a good example. We found out that by having Moxie in key strategic places and time during the user journey, not only we increase the Moxie engagement, but we also decrease the times and the page transition. So I think work closely with the data team or data insight team within your organization to get key relevant data points about customer behavior. So that's the second point. And I think the third point is, again, it's easier said than done, but is continue to listen to your customer and let's not pretend that we know more than they do. And I think the biggest problems, and too often we see it, is let's not make our problem as a company the customer problem. So I think for us, the best service, let's say, is when you don't really need service because everything works perfectly fine. Unfortunately, due to the nature of the business, who we are, or the organization, it's not always the case. And that's why we're here to turn something good into something great. But I think really, to answer your question, Rebecca, is improve those 3 points and try to fix the problems up front, and if not, as quickly as possible once the end user has identified it. So those are the 3 or 4 main reasons or drivers on how to continue to reduce contact ratio or indirectly improve user journey with the least friction as possible.
That's great. And Rebecca just said thank you. That's great. So good answer to the question. As a follow-on to that, Ethan had said, you mentioned that the Where's My Order, the Wizmo, was a big driver for this and a big way to deflect contacts. Where did you decide, or how did you decide is actually the question, where to put the proactive information around that particular inquiry?
Oh, good question. I don't know if we've nailed it, Ethan. I'm sorry. We hope we have managed to reduce it a lot. Where we faced a number of challenges. I think the first question some retailer or e-commerce will ask is, why do you have a Where's My Order in the first place? Well, strangely enough, even though you give customers the choice to choose between 3 or 4 different shipping methods or dispatch method at a different price, the Amazon way, we still have 60 to 70% of orders that are shipped and tracked. So, we do not have more information that you as the end user as to where is your order at that particular moment in time. It could be second-class post, it could be a non-trackable carrier, and often it is. So what we find out is most customers, believe it or not, do not contact us 6, 7, 8 days after they place the order because they start to be worried. They contact us 48 hours after they placed an order, or after they have had the order dispatch confirmation, perfectly knowing that they will not get it by then. But they just need reinsurance. They just need to know, okay, I know that my order has been dispatched. Am I going to get it on time? Is it there? The truth is we cannot guarantee that because of the type of shipping options you have selected. But at least in Moxie, when we are able to give you an answer and says, please rest assured that your order is on its way. It takes on average 3 to 4 working days based on the method that you have selected. Therefore, it should be there by Wednesday before end of day or something. It just reassures them. Now, to answer your questions more specifically, where did we decide to place it? It depends on the user journey that you have. In the instance, because we are making bespoke order and it's on demand, it really starts to be shipped or dispatched from the moment a production site in UK, France, and Germany and Spain have processed your order. That's when we inform you that it's on its way to you. So this is on this specific email, so the order confirmation dispatch, that we start to enrich information about the average time it might take. And after that, whenever you go back to a website and you are logged in your sessions, we identified you as having placed an order. So within my account, my order, we know that you have placed an order, and this is when we linked the times when you log back in, knowing that it's very likely that you log back in again, not to make another purchase so close to the first one, but because you want to find the status of your order. That's when we say, hey, by the way, rest assured that your order is on its way, and we anticipate a potential Wizmo query. So it's really when you log back in or when you visit the website again after a recent order that we try to push the Moxie with the information on untracked order. And the other third of the orders, just to anticipate further questions, that are tracked order or that are guaranteed delivery the next day, it's a lot easier because we have various technology with Link that we can implement into Moxie to actually direct you straight away into the carrier shipping reference using your account details or your customer detail, or we can drive you straight away into your My Order sections in the website for you to see the progress of your order. So this is how we do it, and at the moment we've put it mostly on following the order confirmation email, therefore, once it's been dispatched.
Thanks, Mike. One final question as we're right at the end of our session. You had mentioned that you ran a proof of concept that was sometime in February, I think. Can you give us a quick answer on how long did you run the proof of concept before you started rolling it out larger that you mentioned you were doing now?
Okay, yes, of course. So, so I first engaged with Moxie earlier last year. We met during a networking event in London, and I really liked the solution. Then we touched base again a few times. And they were very, they had a really good approach. That was not hard sell. There was really, how can we work together and how can it be win-win? So once we had engaged and talk about who we are, what are the challenges, in a very, constructive way, Moxie suggested and said, look, let's do something. Let's put our money where our mouth is. Let's work together with something which is a slightly lighter version of a Moxie in terms of options. You can implement it very, very quickly pre-peak or before peak. So I think it took a couple of weeks only, and we were very pleased with that. We trained a CS content manager to make sure that she was able to navigate the tools and use and recycle the created content she had created on FAQ, on video tutorials. So kind of win-win, opening a new windows to push self-service. And we've basically launched this around peak time, which is slightly later for Spain. But really for us was we need to make sure that by mid-October, everything is live, to be able by mid-January to start down and say, okay, we've got 3 months of data. This is rock solid. That's peak for us. Even if the proof of concept absorbs a small amount of decrease in contact and deflections, we will have already, make some substantial efficiency for the end user and for the business by that. So it took us about less than a month between start and launch and all the T's and C's and all the setup and the tweak. And then we decided on 3 months simply because selfishly, I really wanted to have it for peak. Otherwise, it would have been harder to show a return on investment during the low season for a first attempt. And also because I thought there was a real challenge, and to my surprise, the team was really, really good at delivering. The tech support and the engagement, the training was great, knowing that most of my teams are not tech or they're not very IT, they're not very, super aware of how to use, technology or different platform. And if they can make it, anyone can. So yeah, proof of concept was 3 months. End of January, we had the numbers. Early February, I came back to my board and say, this is what we want to do. This is my P&L. And that was straightforward. I have a budget, like most of you. I have to work around my budget and define a budget before the end of the financial year. Instead of saying, I'm going to have a dedicated budget line for Moxie, I say, how many headcount can I save? And how many low value added contacts can I deflect? And therefore, instead of investing on 5, 6, 7 more headcounts for the Spanish market and the Iberia region, I'd rather invest in a technology that is scalable. And that's how we do it.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Well, that wraps us for today. Mike and Ben, thank you guys so much. Lots of great questions coming in, lots of great interest in the topic. Mike, appreciate you spending your time with us this afternoon. As mentioned, the recording and slides will be sent out via email tomorrow. Of course, if there was any questions that you audience members had that we weren't able to get to, you can route them through any of the ways there on your screen, email, go in through concierge, reach out to your account manager. Happy to talk with you more. And thank you again for joining us. Thank you, Mike.